Hi, this is David Dowdy. I am thrilled to have Kyle King on the line with us for the Business Spotlight interview today. Kyle owns the Writer's Game and has quite a story. Looking forward to hearing from you, Kyle. Again, I'm David. I own Action Coach Lake Norman and a local business training and education company, a business coaching company. And just thrilled to learn some wisdom from you today, Kyle. So why don't you take over here, introduce yourself in the Writer's Game? Tell us a little bit about your
Sure.
story.
First, David, thank you so much for bringing me on. Whoever's listening, I definitely recommend people checking out your coaching and your opportunities as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
Really.
My name is Kyle King. I guess, introduce myself as an author, a transformational leader in school system, as well as a keynote speaker. I founded the company, The Writer's Game, in 2019 off of the hope to be able to transition and transform educators that were working within the school system. At the onset of why we started the company in 2019 was I recognized at that time that when a lot of these jobs shut down and they had to close down, they closed their doors, teachers that were making $35,000 a year, and that's before taxes, were not able to take care of their lifestyles economically or financially. But
And
I
that
recognized,
was during that COVID,
of
like
course,
things kind of gradually shut down or actually came to a screeching halt for
exactly,
many of them
exactly.
for a long period of time. So yeah. So that
Yeah.
was what 2020 you started in 2019.
2019 and we really started picking it up 2020 once the world came to an halt.
Yep.
Like I was saying to you earlier, I recognize that teachers have a gift. They have a gift to being able to teach, develop students, coach, train, and mentor their peers. But a lot of them didn't understand how to transition that same expertise that they're using in the classroom to the industry.
Mm.
So I wanted to be able to work with an onset of group of educators and teach them how to publish books, how to write their stories, and how to leverage that book to be able to build a business on the back end, whether it's keynote speaking, whether it's selling bulk books, distributing bulk books, or training for a corporate standpoint, learning and development opportunities. So now we've been able to grow the company to work with educators, professional coaches, and keynote speakers. And we are the brain behind a lot of the people that are on stages, developing keynote speeches, writing their books, helping them go through the process of understanding their story, so that they could be able to continue to grow and scale their organizations.
That's fantastic. And you were sharing with me some of the statistics of the success rate that you've had with people coming through the program. So
Yes, we've had hundreds of people that we've been lucky to help hundreds of people and thousands of students come through our programs. However, I guess the first year was the most meaningful to me because we took 20 educators that were struggling through our program. Out of that 20, 18 of them published books within the first 6 months. Of the 18, 12 of them went to be able to build businesses. Now, since then, once we started to put and implement systems in place, we have a 96% success rate. Once somebody comes into our programs, follows our model, they're going to be able to unpack their story, write their book, publish their book, and launch it within a 6 month period, a high quality professional book. So, anybody that's listening, once you master the system and the process, then you create a duplicatable model.
that's the beauty of a system, right? It is scalable. And and I love in hearing you and reading a little bit about your story that basically your belief and approach is everybody has a story, a unique story that should be shared.
I agree.
That's that's awesome. So, okay, so you've had a pretty good run at it now, 5 years since inception. So, if you had it to do all over again in starting this business, maybe pick a different time to do it, but for you, it's perfect for
Yeah.
the timing with COVID. But if you're to do it all over again, what might you do different?
I would look at the business on at the beginning. I would build to exit. There's a book that I read that I would recommend everybody reading, Exit Rich. And in the book, I think that a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially if we're building business in a time where we're in survival mode or we're in career transition or we're wanting to make money, we go into it focusing on revenue and client acquisition first, rather than the overall experience that someone will get from the product experience, the client experience, and the overall system that will allow me as the founder and the CEO to step back and actually take time working on the business. A lot of times early on in the business, I was the coach, I was the editor, I was the designer, I was all of these different things because I was so focused on bringing in clients to create revenue opportunities to grow the business.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're making money, that doesn't mean you're growing the business. So it took years for me to really understand, all right, what are our SOPs? How can this business run completely without me? If I wanted to take a vacation for a week or two, how can my team step up and be able to run this at the same expectation and standards that I would run this? So anybody listening, I would recommend building a business on the front end to exit and to scale it. And to scale it, it has to be duplicatable, but it can't be customizable. You can't have a different experience every single customer that comes through that, because then you don't understand how to identify where there's potential gaps in the marketplace or even gaps in your processes. So I wanted to be able to understand, all right, if I took off a year, can my business completely run without me? If I completely shut down my Instagram and my social media, can our business be sustainable? So that would be the thing that I would do differently. I would focus more on product development, system development, processes on the front end, and hiring experts, being an expert at hiring experts and being willing to invest in other people so that they can help me in building this system.
Man, there's a lot of gold in what you just rattled off. I mean,
Appreciate it.
Jim Rohn, I think, was it Start with the End in Mind,
Yes.
or and that's a book that I'm not familiar with, but I made a note of it. Exit Rich.
Yes.
Excuse me. It's not the one that I thought you were going to reference, but I mean, there's some really great readings out there. So you've learned a lot through this process. What are some of the, maybe you just shared the biggest ones, but some of the biggest learnings that you've had as you've gone through this endeavor of not just starting, but scaling your own business and giving you the freedom that you want?
I think there's a quote, and I hope I don't butcher it, but what is the world if you've gained everything but you've lost your soul? And I think for me, if I'm being just, transparent on this podcast,
Yeah.
I've created a lot of success, and I've been fortunate to have a lot of financial and economical and relational success in my life. But there are seasons years ago where I lost myself. I wasn't necessarily showing up for myself, and then that led to me gaining 60 pounds in weight and going into a doctor's office and them telling me if I kept going in that way that I'm on track to have a heart attack. I've lost relationships. I've made mistakes or decisions that cost other people as well because I was so laser focused in business, business, business that I
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily intentionally focused on what were the cost of the decisions that I was making. And anybody listening, whether you're a founder at, scaling or just in the process of, wondering if you want to build something, don't lose yourself. Still set boundaries. Don't take calls after 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Set boundaries in your schedule. Still go to the gym. Still have days where it's about you. Still watch movies. I think there's people out there that preach, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and don't watch movies, don't watch Netflix, and don't have any friends around you that are not on this, focused path. But
Do
I
the
think,
grind. Do the
yeah,
grind. Grind it
that's
out.
not
Work
life.
harder. Yeah.
That's not life at all. And I've been able to reverse engineer it and still have fun and still enjoy relationships and still travel and enjoy my family. And now I'm at tip top shape now because I've intentionally focused on the beauty of life and the beauty of the process. And I've recognized that better people build better businesses. So when I started going back to the gym, when I went to therapy, when I joined a new church, when I started really spending intentional time with my family, when I prioritize the personal side, the personal development, my
Mhm.
business revenue skyrocketed. The opportunities that I had skyrocketed. And I believe, I'm a man of faith, and it talks about in the Bible and scripture that God commands us to rest. And we have to be able to be willing to rest in those seasons. And that's where the innovations come. That's where the creativity comes. And that's what then gives us the power to be able to really impact people in an intentional way.
And that's, Excellent. I mean, I love what you're talking about here, and you already talked about the need to be not just physically in shape,
Yeah.
spiritually in shape, mentally, emotionally. There's such a balance. So, you've got apparently quite a bit of discipline or learned discipline about that balance. What are some of those parameters that you have that have worked for you? I mean, you go to the gym on a certain frequency, you do things to improve yourself, but you're also running a business and doing some other things as well. What?
So I think with anybody wanting the tactical steps, one thing that I heard years ago, Jesse Itzler actually gave me this. He was giving a keynote speech in Atlanta, and he said, every year you want to be able to have one type of challenge that pushes you physically or mentally or emotionally. So every year for me, I'm thinking about, all right, what can I challenge myself with this year? So this year I'm going to be doing a 50-mile race on October 5th, and that's going to be my first ultra marathon. The year prior, I did a half marathon and all of these different things. But if you think about setting that intention, a 50-mile race, that means, let's say it's in October, that's 10 months in a year before the race. So that means at the beginning of the year, you have to be running, you have to be working out, you have to have your diet right. So now you just set a goal and then work backwards to be able to get to that goal. Let's say you want to be able to create something financially. Let's say I want to do 1.5 million this year. Well, you divide that number by 12, you divide that number by 4 weeks, potentially in a month. So now, okay, well, what can I do? How many hours do I need to focus on these activities so that I can be able to hit that mark? So to answer your question directly, I work out every day, whether
Mhm.
I am running, biking, or lifting in the gym. But you can't just work out physically, you have to work out mentally. So on my desk here, I have 3 books that I'm currently reading so that I can be able to be the best leader with my team. So I have to feed myself both physically, but then also mentally. But then I've spent time where every hour for at least 10 minutes, I have to spend time with God. So whether I'm praying, whether I'm just sitting and reflecting, I need to be able to take time to either journal, and I have a journal here that I'm using
Mhm.
that I can go to, that I'm just writing down thoughts or writing down prayers or whatever that needs to look like. Then when I think about my diet, now that's been the challenging part because when you're moving and shaking, but
Yeah.
most times during on Sundays, I've seen that it's most effective for me when I meal plan for the week. Now, when you're traveling and doing different things, you just have to, that's where that discipline comes in. But I'm not creating a machine lifestyle, but I've integrated it within my lifestyle so it still honors me in a sense. I've cut out meat from my diet completely. Like there's certain things that you have to give up in order to go up. I posted something this morning on LinkedIn. Nothing changes until something changes. You can't say that you want a better marriage or a better business or a better life if you're not willing to be better in your actions and your habits.
Well said. Well said. So switching back to the business side,
For sure.
man, there's so many different misconceptions about and you own your own business. It's going to be easy peasy, make tons of money, set your own schedule. What are some of those misconceptions maybe that you had as you launched the writer's game and some of the learnings that you've gotten since then?
Interestingly, one of the learnings is that you're not going to make money as an entrepreneur in your first 2 years. I think that's a misconception that people have. I think if you are strategic about, all right, I want to be able to create this lifestyle for myself, it's all down to the numbers. There's another book that I've read, Profit First. And it's an amazing book, but it's literally mathematics. 50% of your money goes to owner's pay, 10% of your money goes to taxes, 15% goes to operating expenses. So if you
Yep.
want $5,000, then that means you have to make 10,000 based upon the statistic. So now that means we have to make $10,000 on a monthly basis. If we want to be able to operate our business at a higher level, we just have to make more money. So the misconception is that the business's money also is your money. No, that's not the case. I think a lot of times people think that, oh, I made $5,000 this month. No, you didn't. The business did. But then once you run the calculations, well, that means maybe I only made $1,500 this month. So that's one of the big misconceptions. Another misconception is that you can do this alone. You can't. You can't, like, I recognize that I couldn't be the designer, the editor, and all of these different things. You're going to need people to be able to build your business with you or for you. One of the best pieces of advice that I could give any founder or CEO is you need to get really crystal clear in what you're actually doing, the vision of where you want to create it, and be willing to lead people to be able to get them motivated to get to that vision. And I think I've gotten really
Mm.
good over the years and getting clear about where we're going, what it's going to require, and then also what I need from all of the people on my team to be able to get us there collectively.
Awesome. I'm making a few notes here. That's that's great. So as you're looking at the people that you surround yourself with, not necessarily your clients or customers and whatnot, but from the team members and the support that you have,
Mhm.
what kind of qualities are you looking for? What are you looking to pick up on in interviews, conversations for anybody that you're looking to bring onto your teams?
That's a great question. So I hire character, not skill set. I believe that any skill can be taught if you have the right character. So I want somebody that's a person of integrity. I want someone that understands how to resolve conflict. I want somebody that is action oriented and understands that when you bring me a problem, you already have potentially three solutions.
Mm,
I want somebody that is a good communicator. And communication isn't just about the words, it's about also being willing to listen as well. I want somebody that's creative and innovative in their thinking.
mm,
I want somebody that is committed to actually change and not just revenue. Somebody that actually wants to make a difference. I want somebody that's family oriented. That is so important because I don't want you working until 2 o'clock in the morning. I want you to spend the time with your family. And I want somebody that also is willing to set boundaries and challenge the status quo to be disruptive in an industry.
mm.
Um, and then I just want a good human being because I believe, that companies have gotten, when we think about the culture that we're in now and the work culture, with people leaving and all of these different things, one job, and then you're going to the next. Great leaders know how to keep, retain, and develop talent. And those are the best organizations, in my opinion, as well, that have had talent that have been developed through a specific system. So I think those qualities are much, much more important than you just being a great marketer or a great, designer or all of those different things. I can teach you anything.
Yeah. And from what I've seen and experienced is, there are a lot of great managers out there if you look at results, but the difference is leadership is an entirely different skill set. And to
100%.
develop those people as you're talking, employees, team members leave managers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't necessarily leave leaders, you
No, I
know.
agree.
So being able to fine tune some of those skills. So ask you a question. You seem to be a phenomenal communicator, right? That is your business. What are a few of the resources that you use to improve or that you have used in the past to enhance your own communication skills?
Number one is coaches. I've been fortunate enough to have some amazing coaches in my life. My speaker coach, currently his name is Jacob Brown. He's a keynote speaker, a world-renowned speaker. Number two is another speaker coach that I've been a part of their program is Michael and Amy Port at Heroic Public Speaking
Oh,
outside of
yeah.
New Jersey. So two amazing individuals as well. I've been fortunate enough to be around David Shands and Donnie Wiggins that have the number one entrepreneurship podcast currently on Apple as well, and have really been developed as a presenter on stage from them as well. I've had some great mentors over the years. So I think number one is get a coach. Number one is to definitely get somebody. There's a book out there called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. Stop trying to figure out how to do it. Just go get somebody that knows how to do it quicker and better and faster and more efficient. And then number two, outside of coaches, I read a lot of books. Like I showed earlier on the screen, there's 3 books that I'm reading, all about leadership, all about developing of talent. I have books over here, the one by Ryan Holiday, Discipline is Destiny. So how can I be more disciplined in all of my actions? And then number three is you have to practice. I think, communication may seem like it's good for me now, but I've been communicating in public leadership, and these type of fashions for 10, 12 years. Whether I was on weekly lives on Instagram or whether I was doing weekly trainings as a part of my program, every opportunity that you get to share, to present, or to lead, those are all practice for you to refine your voice and refine your message. So I think practice, coaching, and reading are the only three things I think you really need.
Man, fantastic. So is there anything that you've shared so much wisdom and gold here in this session? Any other words of wisdom you might share for up and coming entrepreneurs, business owners, or even those that are already at it, but maybe somewhat stuck, want to get unstuck and get to the next level?
Of course. So I shared earlier in our conversation that, 2 years ago I went into the doctor's office and the doctor said I was 60 pounds overweight. I was around 240 pounds, and they said if I was on track to have a heart attack. I had some heart issues throughout that year, but by the end of that year, I ran my first half marathon. And, in November, I got mile two, mile three. Everything was fine because I had been training for these moments, but I never ran a half marathon before. I got to mile 12 and my body shut down. I looked at my arm and there were white crystals because I was dehydrated, had a full body cramp. But the one thing that I would want to give anybody that's listening right now that may be stuck is that I was stuck at my mile 12, but I kept running. I was stuck at that mile 12, but I remembered that my purpose was more powerful than my circumstance. And everybody on here has some type of purpose, that some type of calling, some type of idea that they were destined to go create, that they were destined to go give to the world. And you have to be willing to push through the inconvenience, the uncomfortable times, and the pain so that you can get to that finish line. And I got through that finish line, and it taught me more about my life than just the run. We're all running some type of race. And we're going to get to a point in that race where we feel stuck and we want to give up. And that's me telling you right now that the beauty and the power and the success is on the other side of that pain. So keep pushing.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Kyle, what's the best way somebody can get in touch with you if they want to reach out, learn more about the Writers Game? What do you recommend?
LinkedIn is perfect. Kyle S. King on LinkedIn. Kyle S. King on LinkedIn would be a great place because then you'll be able to find all of the different the various things that we're doing in the business, in my personal life
Right.
on the platform as well.
Awesome. Kyle, with the Writers Game, I genuinely appreciate you being on the Business Spotlight today with us and look forward to seeing you around town and man, wish you many successes in the future. Sounds like you're on a roll.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you.
Thanks.